brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
Again. Crack out your pint glasses, folks. It's another Suds episode where really good beer meets really bad radio. I am your hostess.
Oh, so Caperton's here. So
I'm here.
That's the reason why we're going to say it's bad radio this time, right?
I was jumping in there. You were way ahead of me there.
Is bad the right word? Is it strong enough?
Super bad.
Oh, hell. It's just dirty radio. Anyways, I am your hostess, good old gal Julieanna. And with me today for another really cool episode is good old boy Mike.
Hey, everybody. It's good old boy Mike. Glad to be here again.
Yay. Sorry, that was very bright of you.
Uncharacteristically sunshiny.
There are no caffeine laden beers in this flight today.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Yes,
at least for now.
You couldn't tell.
Sorry, and also with us for another cool episode is good old boy Tim.
Greetings and salutations.
And
wow, can I rate that? That was.
I would give it a 5. Wait for the belch.
Yes, yep, I am thinking we need something.
Hey there, this is good old boy Tim coming live at you with the same caffeine voice that Mike had.
Yeah,
welcome everybody.
Yeah, you could own the cowbell.
What do you do? I own the cowbell.
There you go. I think that's a T-shirt all by itself. I own the cowbell.
I mean, or it just says cowbell owner.
There you go.
There it is. That's it.
It could be your new title at the brewery.
Not only is he assistant brewer, he also owns the cowbell.
It is mine.
I want credit for that.
Please do not touch. I possess it. Greetings and salutations.
Very cool. Also joining us today, pen in hand, good old boy Caperton.
Hello, everyone. What? I'm just saying hi.
Yet.
Hi, everybody. I think that was my first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, that's sharp. Yeah. Also with us is good old boy Sean.
Present.
There it is. I like that. I like that.
You always had to be that one person,
Terse
here,
and to the point.
Here, present.
Present.
That's my name.
And for today's math quiz.
Yeah.
Train leaves Raleigh.
Well, today's episode is a brewery takeover.
Yeah.
We're going to be sampling some very interesting beers from Ardent Craft Ales in lovely Richmond, Virginia. The state for lovers.
That's right.
Good old boy Mike, tell us about the brewery in the state for lovers.
Yeah, so here's some information from the website from Ardent Craft Ales. Is a brewery. It's a tap room. They have a beer garden. It's kind of a cool setup. They almost take up like half a city block. I mean, it's like a local hangout kind of place that they have there. It's in the Scotts Addition neighborhood of Richmond, Virginia. Here's some information from them. They began as a co-op in a Richmond garage, a space where we actually sought to create innovative beers and introduce others to historic brewing methods and beer styles. As a production brewery, our mission remains the same. Do you need a mission, or is it just can you make beer? Our mission remains the same, to produce and celebrate exceptional and ambitious beers with the ever-growing craft beer community. Boy,
Yes.
That's a mouthful. What do you want to do? I want to create ambitious
beer.
Ambitious beers, not just good beer, but ambitious.
But produce and celebrate exceptional and ambitious.
There you go. Okay, if you're going to create a run-on sentence, do it with style. All right, so
There's a nice,
and big multisyllabic words.
there you go. I agree.
nice colon.
Pick an adjective. In 2010, Tom Sullivan and Paul Carnes launched a homebrewers cooperative and purchased a Sabco half-barrel pilot brewing system to further their brewing knowledge and expertise. Did they discover all the plumbing problems with that outfit? But anyway,
Could be.
Tom and Paul had been homebrewers from several years. And while setting up their co-op, they met Kevin O'Leary, who had recently moved from Richmond to Cambridge, Massachusetts. He moved to Richmond from Cambridge, Massachusetts, where he had served as a brewer in the Cambridge Brewing Company. The three men began brewing with other members of the co-op on Sundays at Churchill the Garage, when they opened their doors to members of the local community who were also interested in brewing beer as well. The community response was overwhelming. Week after week, people visited the garage in order to learn about the brewing process and take various beer styles. And the weeks turned into months, and the partners concentrated on recipe development. More sugar. They reviewed less cowbell.
Banned once again.
Yes, I knew that was going to happen with us today. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. They went to a rather business. I lost my spot. As the weeks turned into months, the partners concentrated on recipe development. I read that. They reviewed
as the rain turned into snow.
Yes. They reviewed.
The leaves turn colors.
Gosh, man. You
Sends
you
through the
picked the
hourglass.
least competent person to read this. So. Anyway, so they began brewing beer, blah, blah, blah. Other people showed up, blah, blah, blah. To further their knowledge, they attended seminars on brewing knowledge. You should put the top on the lid and then put the cork in it and just turn it over. Brewery management, you are late again. I can't believe this.
You're fired.
You are fired. I can't believe this. What's a good brewery management moment there, Sean?
What's that?
What's a good brewery management moment? Just shut up and clean out the tank.
Ooh.
Go
clean the bathroom.
Yeah.
Go clean the bathroom.
No, I haven't done that to Tim.
The hose gets the results.
Less bitching, more pulling spent grain.
Yeah,
It's usually just, why isn't this yeast coming out of this fermenter so I can reuse it again, and then why isn't this yeast coming out of this yeast spring so I can get it into this beer and go home.
There you go. And brewery marketing. Look, it's going to be fabulous. There's going to be people showing up. We're going to put it in cans. It's going to be people flowing out.
We have the biggest tanks.
We're going to run out of room of people to stand in line for this beer. There's brewery marketing.
Bigly.
101. Yeah, it's
Hated
bigly.
it.
Yes. So, in 2012, they decided, hey, let's write a business plan. And they took their business plan to some of their partners, began to pitch it to potential investors. And in the next year, July 2013, the generosity of friends, old and new, allowed Ardent Craft Ales to officially join the community of Richmond breweries. A lease was signed and renovations were begun on the 1940s warehouse in Scott's Addition. A 15-barrel brew house was purchased and orders from raw materials were placed. Thanks to the kindness and belief of many, Ardent Craft Ales, a brewery and tap room, opened in June 2014. Kevin, Tom, and Paul look forward to a lifetime of celebrating beer with the Richmond community. So I had a chance to actually stop by the brewery. Actually, this is where I picked up the beers we're going to go through today that we're going to talk about here in just a second, but I thought I'd talk a little bit more about the experience from the brewery itself and a little bit about kind of the Richmond brewing community. So the one thing that kind of struck me is there's a lot going on, in the Richmond, brewing community itself. And the beers that Ardent is really going after they're things that don't echo some of the same style characteristics of everything else. The 500-pound gorilla in town is Hardywood. Hardywood. I got it right that time.
You said wood.
Yeah. Very big production facility, and they, really pump out a tremendous amount of volume from that facility. Multiple packaging types, a lot of cork and cage. They do there, but they move an awful lot of beer in kegs out of that facility as well. A couple of the other brewers in the area, I'm not going to name them all. I'm just going to name a few that caught my attention. Strange Brews, Strange Ways Brews, Strange Brews. I know I'm going to get it wrong. Very interesting place.
Strange almost.
I think I counted almost 81 different types of beer that they have, in their product lineup. I mean, it just looks like a schizophrenic moment of not knowing exactly what you're going to produce next. But a lot of really interesting stuff, and have a commitment to a sour line as well as, a lot of, straight yeast, line as well, and doing it out of a common facility, which is, kind of interesting challenge, to do, to have bugs and in a clean facility as well. The belle of the ball right now in Richmond is definitely Vale Brewing. I mean, there are lines that just span there for days. You can actually see the line from orbit for people to show up to get Vale
Google
Brewing.
Earth.
I remember the first time I went to Vale, and it was on a can release day, and this guy comes out and he has like a hand truck. And he's like, dude, I got 8 cases, and he's like wheeling it to his car like it's Christmas morning. I mean, I'm just like, okay, wow, that's not something you see every day, And everybody else was like, man, that sucks, I was like, look, I'm just here for a 4-pack. I'd like to taste a couple of things, I was just like, I don't get it, so... But I was able to swing by, Ardent has this kind of very interesting, place in the Richmond community that they're really very hooked into the community. And so this backstory about, their interaction with the homebrewing community really kind of fits really well. And you see that very present. If you visit the tap room, it's very family friendly. There were a lot of kids there that day. And their beers, I think, are fit in the overall landscape for the Richmond beer scene, pretty well. So they have some clean beers, and then they have some barrel-aged beers, and we're actually going to get to taste a little bit of both of those from today's lineup.
Right on.
Cool.
Yep. So, I'm definitely looking forward to
Scott's Edition.
Yes. Cool neighborhood.
Yeah. Sounds like an idiot son's bedroom that he's like moved back in at 35.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be talking more about Ardent and Richmond in just a minute.
Rolling clouds and crashing surf, iridescent dunes reflecting by the light of a rising, glowing moon. Seashore mesmerizing, night breeze hypnotizing. We've come across these back roads none too soon. Look to the left, to the right. Keep your eyes on the road, my darling, wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows, my hand is yours forever, sweet love.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking about Richmond, Virginia, and Ardent Brewing Company. Not necessarily in that order. Anyways, good old boy Tim, would you give us the lineup for today, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Today from Ardent Craft Ales, we'll be tasting the Szechuan Peppercorn Saison, the Honey Ginger Ale, the Bourbon Barrel Aged Honey Ginger Ale, and the Bourbon Barrel Aged Dark Rye.
Cool. And sorry, I meant to say Craft Ales, and I said Brewing Company. That's really cornberry. Okay, fine.
I'm going to go on record here that every glass is going to be empty. Every one of our tasting glasses is going to be empty at the end of this episode. That's my bet.
If not halfway through.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm working that way pretty fast.
Well, I had no doubt about. So
you're such a lush Caperton.
I may refill.
If we put a tap line over there, you drain the keg. So.
Well, there's that.
It's always that one beer.
Exactly. Good old boy Sean, could you give us our Suds ratings for today?
We'll be discussing and rating these beers with these Suds ratings plus our signature belching sounds.
Oh, wait. Is it Cosby?
No. I'm going to do my worst Bill Clinton here.
You're going to do your worst Bill Clinton. All right, here we go.
Here are those ratings now. Number 1, actually, it's kind of more Harry Carey. Which anyway,
Harry Carey and Bill Clinton.
Had a special night. Yeah.
Holy cow!
And they came out Scott's edition.
Number 1, that sucks. Give me anything but a bud and a cigar. Number 2, was that a belch? Number 3, I say this every time I come through Nashville and have their hot chicken the next day after having Bolton's medium. Ah, that's a relief. Number 4, a body should really not make that sound. I've told that to Hillary a number of times.
That was pretty good. I have to say that was. I love that.
And number 5, listen to that hang time. Give me another. Let me play that sax.
A matinee show, and he does perform for beer people.
Stick around for the 11 o'clock show, folks. It's a whole different show.
He's a sexy guy.
True that.
We'll all show up at McDonald's and have a wonderful time.
Okay, all right. Let's get on to the beer. Good old boy Mike. Please talk about the first beer on our list.
Yeah, that's right. The show is about beer. Do you want me to do this in my favorite Bill Clinton voice? Yeah, so our first beer is pretty simple. This is a Saison, and they have just chose to add a certain style of peppercorns called Szechuan peppercorns to this. This is a ever-growing style of beer that's coming around, and one of the things that's very characteristic of a lot of peppercorn saisons is you just get that, very bright, kind of spiciness to it. The Szechuan peppercorns are a little bit different than maybe some of the other peppercorns themselves. They tend to have a little bit more earthiness to them, is maybe some of the characteristics I think of, anyway, with Szechuan peppercorn. But fairly simple. This is 6.7%, and it was their first anniversary beer. My tasting notes on this beer are... it is... Oh, it's right here. It's right here in front of me. Let's see. So there's definitely some spice, but mostly it's the malt. The malt is the
the malt and the yeast.
Yeah. In fact, that was the next word I had. It was mostly malt and the yeast itself. Blind. If I had tasted this and I didn't even know anything about the description, I would have actually have said this is a rye malt in a Saison, just because I think the spice is actually closer, to some of those. Well, look at that. How about that? I got one standing applause here from good old boy Tim. It's like, wow, give it up to the guy that
Mike's really shining.
Don't feed me.
One of us should.
Yeah. So my Suds rating for the Szechuan Peppercorn Saison from Ardent is a 3.
Cool. Good old boy Tim, what did you think about this beer?
I also got the malt forward, kind of yeast driven Saison flavor from here as well. And it's interesting because a lot of Saisons you'll get that pepper flavor, and so if you tasted it blindly, like Mike said, you might not think that pepper was added, but it was definitely on the forefront for me as well, and I smelled that in the nose. It wasn't anything crazy. I don't know that they, tried to really push the extremes of Saison, but that could be a good thing too, because I thought it was really balanced. I didn't think it was fruity at all, which could be good or it could be bad, but with this one I thought it was a good thing, and I gave it a 3 as well.
I think one word I didn't add was creamy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a nice body, yeah.
It
does.
And the first
I
Saison
felt
was
like
not thin.
the body was a little bit on the lighter side for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It didn't taste watery or anything.
No, it's not watery. Just yeah. For 6.7%, I thought there'd be a little more.
Try blowing bubbles in it. See how that works.
Good old boy Caperton, what did you think about this beer?
Well, let me just start by saying I think this is a style of beer that you guys probably know that I'm enamored with.
No.
Really? Saisons are, it's
how many say
Bloody favoritism!
No, but as it's warmed, it's even gotten better. Like, I liked it, and as it's warmed, it's even gotten better. But I wrote here that I really don't know. Like, I wrote phenolic, which would connote peppery, sort of, but that's the peppercorns, maybe. I don't know if that's an expression of the yeast. It very well could be. Excuse me, but definitely peppery, yeasty, and malty. There's like maybe a little bit of sweetness there. You know, I tend to like my saisons a little bit drier maybe than this one turned out, but this is really good, I thought.
Definitely not a DuPont yeast,
right? It feels a little. Anyway, we won't go into that, but yeah, the yeast is definitely coming out. For sure, it was really nicely carbonated. I thought there was a little kind of tickly tongue action there. Not to get too
tickly tongue action.
That's right.
Okay.
You know, if there were all of the adjectives that I've heard people describe beer, the words tickly tongue have never been combined.
Well,
in that particular moment.
There's only one me, so that's
your T-shirt.
That would explain that. But there's definitely some tickling of the tongue going on there from the little bubbles. And Tim pointed out, and I did as well, there's maybe a little bit of lemony sort of something on the finish there, but not a lot of fruit flavors going on, which is fine. I mean, that's, that I think that's more of an American expression of that beer than anything. Is that we feel like everything has to be sort of hopped up, and this didn't really come off that way. It was more peppery and phenolic than fruity, for sure. And I gave it a 4.
Wow. To get to a 4.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's it's a long way to a 4, man. You gotta bring something.
You can't get a 4 if you don't tickle the tongue.
That's real good. That's real good beer. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Tim.
Good old voice, Tom. What did you think of this?
Well, I'm going to follow David, and I'm going to give it a Suds rating of 4 as well. It's just a really good, I think, well-executed Saison. I do get those lemony notes as well, and I think they're very nice and pleasant. The main thing that hit me was just that yeasty note in the nose, that classic Saison note that you get in the nose. And, it was really enjoyable and just nice and refreshing.
Yeah.
Cool. I thought this was very, very delicate. For somebody that likes champagne, somebody that likes really light wines, I think this would be a great introduction to what beer can be for somebody who is a wine lover. There's that little spiciness, and I taste more rye than I would pepper, but that's great because I love rye, so I'm all about it. But just so delicate and so creamy and so smooth, with that light citrus ending. It's a pretty beer. I know it sounds weird. And I gave it a 4. Moving right along, good old boy Tim. What beer would you like to talk about?
I was going to talk about the Honey Ginger Ale of theirs, the non-barrel aged version. And this is a deep gold-colored ale, and it has medium to high carbonation levels, which enhance the fresh ginger and the aroma. And the malt backbone supports the sweetness of the locally sourced honey and the spiciness of the ginger. It is a strong yet refreshing and deceptively smooth summer ale. So for this one, first of all, in the aroma, I got a lot of ginger, and then to follow that up in the flavor, I got a lot of ginger as well. I got a little bit of the honey, but it was a lot more subdued for me, and maybe a little on the finish, but it was basically like a higher alcohol ginger beer almost. It was an interesting flavor. I enjoyed it, and it definitely masked the 7.8% ABV that it is. So, for whatever that's worth, these ginger beers tend to be a little bit lower alcohol.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I don't know, nothing about this was really that crazy to me. Not to get ahead of the game too much, but the bourbon barrel-aged ginger is a really good comparison. We have that next, and I kind of preferred that one more. But For me, the non-barrel aged ginger beer, it got a rating of 3.
Good old boy Caperton, what did you think?
Well, I thought, it smelled like, on the nose, it was a little sweet, I thought, maybe, and I definitely got some of that ginger, peppery sort of quality from it. I should say that ginger is, in my opinion, one of those ingredients that can sort of, if you're not careful, I think some brewers can really overpower their beer with ginger. It's just going to blast everything, and I'm maybe a little sensitive to that. So that said, I didn't think this beer did not overwhelm me with ginger. It was definitely there, and at first sip, it was, but more of a spicy, peppery sort of quality, and then the honey sort of showed up at the end. The honey didn't really come out, I didn't think, until towards the end. And but I thought it was nice. I mean, it was a nice complexity for me that I felt like this was something that would keep me drinking it. There aren't a lot of ginger beers that I would go back to that often. But yeah, I thought this was nicely balanced and just not overpowering. Nothing really sort of beat you over the head with this beer. It was just nicely balanced, and I gave it a 3.
Good old boy Sean, what did you think of this beer?
A lot of what Tim and good old boy Caperton talked about. I got a lot of strong ginger in the nose. It definitely doesn't taste like a 7.8% beer. It had a nice clean finish to it. And it was a good balance of honey and ginger in the taste. But I thought, the body was a little thin, and it was on the lower side of carbonation, in my opinion.
I thought it was undercarb as well.
Yeah. I definitely wanted some more carbonation in this. It's someone who brews with honey. I'm kind of curious to know how they're using it, and then also just how much of it that they're using in a batch. I mean, the honey definitely comes through. I'm just kind of curious to know what else is going on in the beer, but it's definitely a very interesting beer. So I ended up giving it a Suds rating of 3.
When I first smelled this, it just took me to brew day for me, and it smelled like wort. Like first runnings wort.
Yeah. Good call.
That's just me. But once I got into it, the ginger on it was there, and it was that spicy ginger, and I really dug that and appreciated it. It was a little crisp for me than what I was expecting for the ABV. I thought it would be
a little more malty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then I'm wondering, well, is the honey what's bringing this? Bring
the dryness. Yeah,
and how minimal is the grain bill on this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, that part of it left me kind of flat. I wish it was beefier, if that makes any sense.
More beef.
Yeah, more beef. Can always use more beef. But the ending had that, hint of honey, and I just wish there was a little bit more. You know what I mean? I was craving something to linger on the tongue a bit to help kind of tie it all together, and it wasn't quite there. But again, that being said, the ginger wasn't overwhelming, and that's a big plus because working with ginger for me has always been kind of hard. So I'm kudos to that. I gave this a 3.
So for my notes here on the honey ginger from Ardent Craft Ales, my tasting notes are, I wrote down floral. I don't know if that is just a component of the honey that was kind of coming off. It had a subtle sweetness about it, and I've been able to kind of taste my sample here that's kind of warmed up since we first had it, and that's definitely still very present. This tastes like a sweet spiced beer in general, if I had to kind of sum it up really quick, but there was a tang or a bitterness, kind of on the finish, and I can tell that is definitely a reflection of the ginger that was here. I am definitely right there with Caperton all the way, that the number of ginger beers that I've had that have been just overwhelmed by the ginger are really substantial. In fact, usually when I see that, I just almost want to go, wow, I'm not going to have that.
Yeah.
You taste that. Let me know what you think. Yeah, because it's just one of those things that can get away from you, really fast. And it's a combination of that sweetness and the bitterness, that's present in ginger itself that I think that is highly underestimated. I screw up with it in cooking all the time, so that's the reason why I know.
Yeah.
Same
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually when
Good point.
somebody's calling for fresh ginger and cooking, I go,
It's a lot less than you think.
I think I'm going to use less and then taste and then add a little more and as I go, because not all ginger, has the exact same, is a consistent quality, issue that you always tend to face. So my Suds rating for the honey ginger from Ardent is a 4.
Cool. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the barrel-aged version of this beer. Good old boy Dave. Caperton person.
The honey ginger, this is the barrel-aged honey ginger we're going to talk about now. And it is 11.5% ABV, which is pretty bold. That's quite stout. And 18 IBUs, so not a lot of bitterness. I guess I didn't look at that's the same with the non-barreled version, but quite a bit more alcohol. My notes were I like this one a little less than the non-barrel aged version, but there were definitely some big barrel notes there of vanilla and oak with a lot of booziness from the barrel Buffalo Trace barrel for sure. But the honey seems to have completely fallen off for me a little bit with that. I don't know if it's working. I don't know if it's working with the barrel or if the barrel's just sort of knocked it out of the park. But it didn't really impress me that much. I gave it a 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's my first 2.
He did not like that.
Harsh.
We'll be right back after this break.
It's not just the destination, but baby, the whole elation of riding down this lover's avenue. As slow as the willow blows, or as fast as the whirlwind grows, we glide beneath the stars in cobalt blue. Look to the left, to the right, keep your eyes on the road, my darling, wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows, my hand is yours forever, sweet love, our eyes ahead on these back roads with a view.
Welcome back, everyone. We are in the middle of a brewery takeover with Ardent Craft Ales, and we are discussing the barrel-aged honey ginger beer.
Did you say disgusting?
Discussing. Sorry.
That's what you said.
Maybe my accent was off.
Sorry.
No, we are discussing the barrel-aged. You're cool. Up next, good old boy Sean. What did you think of this beer?
Kind of wanted to follow along on some of what David said. And then during the commercial break, we'd got on the subject of barrel aging beers, and I definitely hit a point on a trip up to Michigan a few years back where it's like, does everything have to be barrel aged? It's like I had barrel aged Oberon, which was good. They called it Uberon, and it was good. But at some point, I was like, I'm done drinking barrel aged beers on this trip.
That's just not that's not right.
Yeah.
You said it was good though.
It was good. It was different, but it's not something that I feel like you know what I need to go get? I need to go get some more of that Uberon. That's the way I felt about it. So on this honey, ginger barrel aged version, the alcohol is completely subtle. You don't know it's there.
Yeah.
For 11.5, there's very sneaky. And then some of the discussion we had was. I think on the honey beer, the non-barrel aged version, was the lack of maltiness that you were wanting, and that was actually in my notes here. It says reminds me of the Kentucky the Alltech Lexington Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale without all the maltiness that beer has.
That's totally it.
Yeah. So that's but yeah, at the end of the day, it just wasn't. Didn't completely blow me away either. And again, kind of one of those, do we have to barrel age everything? So I give it a Suds rating of 3.
Well, so even though I'm going to talk about a couple of flaws in this beer, I really did. I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed the regular honey ginger beer. Yes, the maltiness still wasn't there. Okay. And yeah, I missed that and I wanted that. But being a lover of Buffalo Trace whiskeys and being a big whiskey drinker and bourbon drinker in general,
there you go.
This was a great barrel to put this beer into. Yay. Secondly, I got more honey out of it this time, along with the blend of the vanilla and the carameliness, and I thought it was awesome. Like, I could drink a lot of this. Now,
Here.
Now, also, I mean, this is going to sneak up on you because this does not taste like 11.5%. Again, I'm thinking it's the honey that's pushing it up and certainly not the malt bill that's doing that. But that being said, I'm still getting ginger. I got more honey this time. I got the barrel, and I really enjoyed it. I just wish they had upped the malt bill a bit. I gave it a 4. Good boy, Mike.
I'm not the Messiah!
Well, my own tasting notes are very brief here. Wow. Even better than I thought the original version. And I wrote down, nice barrel choice. How about that, Julieanna?
Yes!
Yes, I'm telling you. So the vanilla was the thing that, kind of amped this up, and there was, all sweetness is not the same. There's different components of sweetness that can come around, and I think that the vanilla that the barrel kind of brought around kind of honed this beer back around to go, I can be a little bit better than I was, my first version, and I thought that was working really well with this. My Suds rating for the barrel-aged honey ginger is a 4.
Cool. Good boy, Tim, what did you think about this beer?
Well, for me as well, this was my favorite beer of the Ardent Craft Ales that we tried. I also gave this a 4. And so for me, kind of to echo a lot of what Mike and Julieanna said, I thought, in contrary to Caperton and Sean, I thought that this brought out more of the honey.
We should shove them in a barrel and see if they can.
Not to
cork up your bung and see what happens.
To interrupt here, Tim here. That I think
I love that idea.
I think the vanilla,
good to me.
the vanilla and the honey were sort of complementing each other for me. I think there was something going on there that sort of, for my palate, made it seem like the honey had sort of dropped off somehow.
That's a T-shirt in and of itself. Just shut up like a bunghole.
Cork up your bunghole and see what happens.
I like that.
Anyway, back to you, Tim. Back to you, Tim.
Yeah, and I think the problem was that I didn't get a lot of the honey on the first one, and I got too much ginger. Not overpowering, because like you guys all said, I think they balanced it well on the ginger and didn't take it to any sort of extreme. But in this one, it's almost like the vanilla sweetness that other people were talking about helps bring out the honey sweetness, because you just think about honey and sweetness, and obviously it's going to ferment out, but then you have these aromatics, and something about the vanilla kind of brought out, and the barrel flavor brought it out more. So it had more of a honey and ginger balance for me. And then at the same time, I'm a big fan of Buffalo Trace and the different bourbons and whiskeys that are produced under those brands, and I think also it was a great barrel, and I didn't think about it until Julieanna said it, but this was the kind of barrel that you want to put this beer into, and I think it took the beer from a 2 to a 3 to a 4 for me, and it was fantastic.
Well, there you go. What beer did you want to talk about?
We're going to get into the Bourbon Barrel Aged Dark Rye, the 2016 version. It's an American Imperial Double Stout, 11.9%, 41 IBUs. The Bourbon Barrel Aged Dark Rye is black in color with a tan head that leaves rich lacing on the glass. Chocolate, tobacco, and dark stone fruit on the nose preclude the smooth mouthfeel that is slightly fuller and more viscous than the base beer. The flavor presents some sweetness and notes of whiskey, tobacco, dark fruit, and chocolate, but overall the beer remains remarkably smooth. A dry imperial stout in which barrel aging accentuates the fruity quality of the rye malt. I thought it was a good execution. All the notes that I just listed were definitely there in the tasting. I thought it was very light carbonation, and I didn't pick up too much rye, and that's something I'm not a huge fan of in beer and bread, or I'm just not a huge rye fan. Rye whiskeys are hit or miss, but
but train you.
Oh, I do love a good bourbon, but I went ahead and gave this one a Suds rating of 3.
Wow. Okay. I like this beer. Not quite as much as the barrel aged honey ginger, but a little bit low in the carbonation that I was a little sad about. But there is a complexity to it that I thought was really good. I did get some rye, not enough as I was hoping to get out of it, claiming that it was a rye beer. So I gave this a 3.
Wow. Says good old boy Mike. My own tasting notes here on the Bourbon Barrel Aged Dark Rye from Ardent. Wow, lots of flavor. There was a lot going on
there
in
is.
Here. Booze and spice, and it was woody and tasty, and it was just all these really cool things, flavor profiles. In the tasting, profile, I circled tobacco and chocolate. This is a good chewy beer.
Ding ding.
Yeah, I really love this for 11.9%. The only thing that I didn't like about this is I didn't have another bottle, so I give it a 4.
There you go.
Good old boy Tim, what did you think of this beer?
Well, on the nose, I got a lot of bourbon, a lot of the barrel that we were discussing. I'm not sure if it's another Buffalo Trace barrel or just a different bourbon barrel, but it was a lot of the same characteristics.
I don't think so.
No?
I'm betting not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just found a lot of, it's another bourbon barrel, so a lot of the similar nose and booze.
Yeah, I agree.
And then in the flavor, I was actually a little disappointed overall. I still enjoyed it, but I thought it was malty, and I got the nice dark fruit and tobacco from those flavors. I didn't get as much chocolate. But something about the finish, I don't know if it was the rye. I don't think so, though. I got something a little oxidized or stale. It kind of finished a little weird for me. So as a result, I gave that a 3.
Good old boy Caperton, what do you think?
Well, not to kind of go contrary to what I just said, but I really liked this beer. I think I like the rye beers though, so that's that may play in here. But I wrote down chocolate roastiness, boozy barrel, spicy, and it was definitely, they described it really well, I thought. There was definitely maybe a little bit of tobacco sort of from the barrel, but definitely a lot of chocolate roasty, boozy barrel, and a nice sort of spiciness that I guess I have to attribute to the rye there. And I gave it a 4.
Cool. So this kind of brewery.
I was observing that not all of our tasting cups are empty. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Look at them, all grab them. I'm going to pound
finishing
mine down
this right now.
So you're going to blend the barrel-aged honey ginger?
Yeah, it needs a little ginger in this.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It's all about the blends, bro.
No, you're fine. So this kind of brewery in Richmond, I think that's pretty stellar, don't you?
Yeah, the only other people I know that are really have a good, barrel-aged program is the Hardywood. Has a very good barrel-aged program. We have not reviewed any Hardywood beers on the show yet. It'll be an interesting contrast. In fact, part of the struggle that I have with, that area of the country. And I've told many people this, and I may have said it on the show previously. Spent a lot of time in Virginia, all through Virginia Beach, Richmond, all the way up, to the Beltway. And I don't know, there's the one thing that struck me is the yeast god needs to visit this part of the country. I had so many beers that were not finishing out well, that tasted under attenuated. It was just like, wow, you have not achieved the promised land.
Well, they're fermenting in a swamp.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, so a good friend, of the show, Jonathan Newman, was he was a brewer from Sweetwater, moved up to Virginia. Lovely, married a lovely woman, bride, and is now brewing at Virginia Beer Company and crushing it. And because the yeast that he is using is not from a lot of the yeast mongers, that are in the area. And I think his water conditioning program is very different than what is being utilized in a lot of other places. And the only thing that I was attributing to the commonality of that was either water conditioning or yeast. Those are the two things that would ride well between, everybody having that common problem. Yeah. I kind of came to the conclusion, I thought it was just a component of the yeast that was just, being used rampant, but it could be very well a water conditioning issue, that's happening through that part of the country as well. Because I just...
Ding, ding.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things
Have you seen the Potomac?
I have, yeah, you're right. And the Chesapeake, in general, so, it's definitely one of those things that captured my attention, and I've walked away, from that part of the country with a very short list of, breweries that I go, I definitely want to get back there for sure, And Hardywood is one of those that they seem to have kind of stepped around that. And, when we come around to talk about those, be interesting contrast between some discussion of these barrel-aged beers from Ardent and Hardywood. They're not that far from each other. They're maybe a mile, split between the two. And I have a sneaky feeling that they probably have shared some common brewing staff, between the two organizations as well at times. So, but the story behind Ardent here is that this is a byproduct of homebrewers, and this is something that's really come, very directly from a very strong passion for brewing beer. And so I think they have great other clean beers that are on. A lot of the ones we had today are out of a series called the Black Paper series, and I think it's one of the few beers, at least at the time that I recall, that they were packaging. A lot of their beers are available in kegs and growlers, very well, especially through Richmond and going down even into Virginia Beach. You can catch, I think, some of their beers on tap as well. But, the contrast between this level of beers and the Black Paper and the other beers that are not, definitely a substantial, jump up. I mean, it really moved, dramatically from like brew pub quality to like, wow, okay, I'd have another one of those. I'd have that dark rye all day long. So, it was really good.
Yeah. And that honey ginger beer, I'm thinking there's a few meaderies that are there in Virginia. I think if they were to make that into a mead, that would be absolutely outstanding.
Well, I've often thought that one of the things that was missing in Colonial Williamsburg was a working meadery. That's the only thing that was not in that community that I could find. And for those of you that may have visited that, attraction, that would be very cool.
Yeah, well, that is kind of shocking.
And you can go to Mount Vernon too, but I don't think they have tons of the brewing equipment, the George Washington brewing equipment or anything. But he ran a whole brewery out there
and a distillery,
exactly. Yeah. I'm not sure about a meadery though.
No, I don't think so. I don't recall that being in Georgia's past. So. I could bring a meadery over to get the,
I declare.
Sorry. Figure about we having Bill in the equation, that'll give him something to do.
Help us out here, Julie.
I can't. Sorry. You're on your own on this one.
Evade, run, bolt.
Well, But very cool, though, nonetheless.
Yeah.
I think this is a good brewery, and I'll have to go next time I'm on my way home to PA. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and you can catch all of our episodes online, as well as on SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, PRX, and Spreaker, our native media host. iTunes, Google Play, and our own Android app are the easiest ways to enjoy the show on your phone. Just search for Sip Suds Smokes on iTunes or in the Google Play Store.
We leave.
We leave with your feedback?
We leave with your feedback.
We leave you so much.
We love your feedback.
We love you long time.
Yeah, that's right. We love you long time. Yeah, we send you a note. Come see us on Mike. Yeah, you can definitely send a note to us anytime. Our email address is info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Please do not make fun of Sean's Bill Clinton in any of the comments for this particular episode.
You can also find the daily tasting notes on Twitter every day at SipSudsSmoke, and also on the Facebook page. It's always buzzing with lots of news, so check that out.
And please, if you're listening online, take the time to give us a 4, or what is it?
5.
4 or 5. We'll take 4 rating.
Prefer 5.
On the episode if you're listening online.
I mean, if you're going to do 4, get some critical feedback. Like just don't 4 and just walk
Caperton
away.
guy. Get rid of that Caperton guy, and it's a 5.
Bingo! There you go. That works.
Get rid of that kumquat.
Well, I want to thank all of our co-hosts for this great show. Good old boy Mike.
Hey, it's good old boy Mike. Keep on sipping. Join us once again.
Good old boy Tim.
Yeah, it was a pleasure as always, and glad I was the one that didn't enjoy that black rye.
Good old boy Caperton.
All right. See you guys next time. This has been fun.
And good old boy Sean.
Life's too short for cheap beer.
This is good old gal Julieanna. Keep on chuggling.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sip Suds and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see y'all next time.